Yeah. Okay. So it's just a continuation of the rest.
Did you apply? When did you get your application in? Oh, that's right, we did talk about that. I was like, I didn't see you. Good, good. Well, sounds better than nothing. You'll have to let me know, maybe. That's awesome.
Call the county council meeting to order. We have Mr. Lott, allegiance to the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Ms. Zembo, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Kuzic?
Present.
Mrs. Ferraro? Mr. Giovanni?
Present.
Mr. Heckman?
Present.
Mr. Lott?
Here.
Mr. McGee?
Here.
Mr. Myers?
Here.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Here.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Again, I'll say I have Ms. Shefninsky is in the other room monitoring our meeting with the naughty and nice list on who she can hear and who she can't hear. Just a reminder to myself and everyone, please make sure your mic's on. Help your neighbor if you see the lights out. Speak into the mic as clearly as possible. When you come up to the podium, that seems to be a problem. If you drift off to the left or the right, you fade away. So with that in mind, we'll get rolling. Sorry. Yeah. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Motion. Take that for what you can. I think you got a second as well. Yep. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, they're passed. All right, courtesy of the floor. I have two people signed in. And the first, and again, I apologize, but you come up and please give your name. It's Michelle.
Can I take my mask off or no?
Yeah, I don't have a problem. You're
Michelle Zoka.
Michelle Zook. Ms. Zook, you have 5 minutes.
Okay.
Please go right
I live
ahead.
on Little Creek Road in Lower Mount Bethel Township. It's a beautiful road, and I'm here because of the misappropriation of county funds to satisfy a flawed P3 contract. Tonight, I'll speak mostly about Bridge 41 on Little Creek Road. In 2011, Little Creek Road was designated as a scenic byway because of its historical, scenic, and natural qualities. The Byways program stipulates that the township creates a corridor management plan that describes in detail the preservation, marketing, and improvement strategies for the byway. It's a competitive program. The Federal Highway Administration funded 80% of it, and the Northampton County DCED and the Lehigh National Heritage Corridor helped out as well. If bridge replacement is on the byway, our corridor management plan states that certain stipulations apply, such as maintain the existing vertical and horizontal alignment, work with existing bridge footprint, and replace in kind. The GPA and the county are completely ignoring the byway aspect of our township, ignoring any type of context-sensitive design, even though much federal, state, and county money was spent to create the byway and the corridor management plan. So, is the county money spent for the byways just a feel-good initiative, or does it have some teeth? In March 2016, Northampton County Council passed an ordinance giving approval to the GPA for the P3 project to replace 33 bridges in the county based on the criteria that they were structurally deficient or functionally obsolete. Note that the bridge superintendent at the time was not consulted about which bridges were selected. He said that some should be on the list that were, and some are on that shouldn't be. Bridge 41 on Little Creek Road is neither structurally deficient nor functionally obsolete. And in fact, in 2018, its efficiency rating was 71.4. Now, the federal government will not let a bridge be replaced if it has a sufficiency rating of over 50. Instead, it must be rehabilitated. How is it that the county and the GPA are ignoring federal standards in order to fulfill the P3 contract? Some residents hired an independent PennDOT certified bridge inspector from Western Pennsylvania who has no affiliation with the county and no conflict of interest. His report is here. He agreed with the 71 sufficiency rating. I have 3 copies. I'm going to just split them evenly.
If you want to give it one to the clerk, she'll make sure we all get them.
Oh, I have one of them.
You can almost share it.
Where was I? He agreed with the 71 sufficiency rating for Bridge 41. And in his research, he found that the condition ratings remain mostly unchanged, dating back to 1990. There is no undermining, no major settlement problems. The bridge is in overall satisfactory condition, and he advised that it would be smarter and cheaper to rehab the bridge simply due to a small crack that can easily be mitigated. Please read that and share it. Last June 2019, at a GPA meeting, Mr. Dertinger defended the planned replacement of Bridge 41 by saying, quote, "The county can fix Bridge 41 much cheaper now and in less time than in an emergency situation if the bridge fails or needs to be closed." But the bridge with a 71 sufficiency rating is not in danger of failing. And if the beams are a problem, as Mr. Dertinger has suggested, the beams in the deck can be replaced for half the price. That's all that's needed. Spend the rest of the money elsewhere, where it truly is necessary. Maybe this is why the bridge is on the list. In an article dated February 15th, 2017, County Maintenance Manager Stan Rugis was quoted as saying, when defending the P3 program, quote, "This is the cheapest way to do it. Instead of doing one bridge at a time, the contractor can mobilize, centrally locate, to work on 2 or 3 at once." So let me explain about Little Creek Road. 5 bridges were initially set to be demolished on Little Creek Road. They span a half a mile. I clocked it today. It makes it very easy for Krieger, the construction company, to get the most bang for their buck. Bridge 41 is just 1 bridge away from 195. 195 is slated for replacement next spring, 2021. And Bridge 41 next summer, 2021. Is convenience to the contractor a good reason to waste money replacing a bridge that doesn't need it? Speaking of Bridge 195, it has a sufficiency rating of 52, which is still above the federal mandate of 50. It curves with the road, and while it's not quite 1 lane, it is narrow. This serves to slow speeders on the 25-mile-per-hour road.
Michelle, the time expired, but I'm going to give you a minute.
Okay.
If you want to sum up, by all means.
I do want to sum up.
All right. Go ahead.
No, wait, I need to think. Don't start the minute yet.
Don't start that.
I'm going to be
Bridge-
very loose with it. It's a
Bridge 195, I will be done. Give me 2.
That's, okay.
It meets, PennDOT publication says that when an existing bridge meets all 4 of the following conditions, the replacement bridge can be constructed with the same width as the existing bridge. And Bridge 195 meets all of those conditions. So why is it being widened? Who do I believe? The county owns 119 bridges that require replacement, rehabilitation, or maintenance. Surely there are others that are in more dire need of repair. In fact, in our township, there's Bridge 31, which is structurally deficient and was closed in last June 2018, I'm sorry. If this was replaced, that would take yet another bridge off the 119 that need to be replaced. Transparency. In the spring of 2017, Stan Rugis sent a preliminary letter from Krieger to the residents. And it said, A Representative Krieger will be contacting you. He'll explain the work to be completed as part of field studies and hear any concerns you may have with the activities to be undertaken. Upon development of the preliminary bridge design, a public meeting will be held. Then in 2019, a letter also from Mr. Rugis said, in the event that a transportation improvement would affect your property, you would personally be contacted by a Northampton County representative. In May of 2020, a letter from Michael Amelli said, the township and property owners will be notified as the anticipated start date nears, and a pre-construction meeting open to the public will be conducted. None of that has happened. At the GPA meeting, Mr. Dertinger said that he's had 7 meetings with residents. I know of only 3, and that they were at the urgency of our township supervisors. They were private, they didn't reach out to residents involved, information was minimal. A pre-construction meeting's too late. Last, we have letters of support from the Delaware Riverkeeper Network, Martin's Jacoby Watershed, the Lower Mount Bethel EAC, and a resolution challenging the project from our Board of Supervisors. These were sent to the GPA and the county in June of 2018. No response. I hope you see our dilemma. As our elected officials, how can you allow over $1 million to go to waste? First, in spending money on a scenic byway and not supporting it, and second, in replacing a functional and structural bridge for no good reason.
Right.
The contract was flawed, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do anything about it. Please replace it or swap it or take it off the P3.
Well, thank you. We have a member on council.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Can she send her speech to us?
Here you go.
You can send it to her if you, oh, okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, thank you.
All right. And next on, I have one other sign-in, and it's Mr. Gerald Seyfried. And rarely do we get such a distinguished individual coming to council meetings. Jerry, not that I need to remind you of anything. You know, if it has to do with any ordinance, you're going to get the chance again to have, as part of public discussion, to speak something to the effect. So
That's, I'll do it now, and that way there.
whatever you want to do.
And, you know, no problem.
I have to
You can run
defer.
us.
You, Jerry, Mr. Seyfried, there were 2 people who were the most encouraging to me when I first got him, wanted to run and get involved. Philip Ruggiero and Jerry Seyfried. And pretty much everybody else welcomed me to their victory parties and gave their condolences because I'd probably lose.
Yes, I
But these were 2
remember that.
individuals that were very helpful. Not that that colors anything, but go ahead, Jerry, I'm sorry.
Okay.
With that build-up, what more?
Further ado.
Yeah, right.
No
There you
problem.
go.
I thank you for the opportunity to come here tonight to talk with you about a topic that's very dear to my heart, and that's the county government. So I want to take you back through time a little bit and ask you to reconsider your ordinance, and maybe even tabling your ordinance and coming up with another way to handle this. Does everybody have a copy of this? Okay. I'll read through it so it's a part of the record, just in case somebody in the newspapers are listening or something and they're saying, oh, we can. What's that?
Take your mask down.
Wanna put it in? Oh,
You
okay.
don't have to have it.
All right. First, the Northampton County Government Study Commission was formed back in the 70s, as most of you know. Most of you do know what's here. I'm just refreshing your memory just a little bit. They held hearings. They recommended to the voters of Northampton County that the new form of government for our county would have 9 county council members to serve as the legislators and 1 executive to serve as the chief administrator of the new government. They wanted a complete break from the commissioner form of government. They didn't want the titles of commissioner involved in the new government. And let me explain to you why. The commissioners from the, Commissioner form of government was viewed by the commission, the study commission, and the electorate as an antiquated way to govern. They also found it to be extremely inefficient, ineffective, and certainly not economical. It was top-heavy with political cronies that were hired by the elected row officers and subject to dismissal with no recourse every time a new row officer or commissioner was elected. Since adoption of the Home Rule Charter, the achievements of the County Council are many. You have numerous achievements under your belt. And Northampton County became an example of good government throughout the Commonwealth. The following is a great example of that good government. In 1978, after the County Council took over the reins as a legislative body, they immediately held hearings on the commissioner's budget. That's the first thing we did back in 1978. Even though the commissioners in office in 77 submitted a budget approved by them, County Council found numerous ways to cut the commissioner's budget from 14.3 mils down to 12.8 mils. Second, after 1 year of legislating change, along with another year experience of implementing many efficiencies, the County Council found, excuse me, a way to cut the budget again. So in 1979, County Council reduced the millage rate for the second time, this time down to 9 mils. 5 3/10 mils lower than the County Commissioner's original budget of 1977. When they said that the commissioner form of government was inefficient, your proof is in the pudding. Much of this was due to the County Council's drafting documents that regulated more oversight and efficiencies in county government. And some of those efficiencies were the creation of administrative code that provided for better financial controls, career service regulations, which eliminated the old political patronage system and implemented a merit personnel system, plus policies and procedures for procurement of supplies and certain services, just to mention a few of those. Yes, it's been 42 years since the voters have adopted a Home Rule Charter government for Northampton County, and 42 years as council serving as the check and balance to the administration. This council, like past county councils, have ideas to make government more effective. Allow me to make a suggestion for your consideration. And it's a suggestion I hope you really do consider. The people of Northampton County voted to name the legislative body of Northampton County Council. They already voted to name you County Council. They did that when they changed the government. And the Charter Commission wanted no ties to the old form of government, and that's why they did not use the name commissioner, because of its inadequacies in governing. The majority of the voters today never voted for a county commissioner, but for 42 years, they voted for county council members. The time has come to take a long, hard look at the Northampton County Home Rule Charter to see what is working and what is not working, and whether there should be changes made to the charter. The only way to accomplish this is by the establishment of a government study commission to review Northampton County's Home Rule Charter and put forth suggestions to improve our present government. Council has the authority to put in progress the necessary groundwork for such a task, and that is long overdue. As to changing your name to County Commissioner, I and 50 other council members were proud to serve as a legislative body while being called County Council members. It's no more confusing to the electorate, whom have been voting for council members for 42 years, than it is to vote for township supervisors, township commissioners, borough council members. It's only a title. In this case of Northampton County, It's now a piece of our history. I'd be glad to answer any questions if you might have them.
Yeah, I mean,
I think the letter speaks for itself. You know, please take that into consideration. Okay?
since you're not going to be discussing, you know, when we have the, if people have any, if somebody has any questions now, I mean, I will say probably, well, I won't say probably. Jerry's the most knowledgeable man that I'm aware of when it comes to county government history and the code, and he knows. I've called him numerous times over the years and very recently to pick his brain on different things. So, you know, I do appreciate him giving his opinion on this, and I respect his opinion. Does anyone have any questions or anything they would like to ask Mr. Seyfried, as long as he's here? I guess your letter spoke for itself.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I'd
Jerry.
like to say one other thing before I go.
Yes, by all means.
This administration, and I'm going to point out, this administration has done one hell of a job on this COVID-19 thing here in Northampton County. And I understand council gave them the authority and some pretty loose reins to do what was right. Congratulations to you and congratulations to this administration for a job well done. Awesome. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Jerry. All right. Now, I have... What, do you think he has a proclamation or something? Okay. I have no one else signed up for courtesy of the floor. Is there anyone who would like to address council under courtesy of the floor? Seeing no one, we will move on to the county executive report. I'm sure Mr. McClure has something to say.
Yeah.
I do. You know, I just want to thank Councilman Seyfried. You're always supposed to address a former elected official by the highest office they've held. I would address him and say thank you for those kind words. That was nice. Yes, I do have a report. So tonight, you're really preparing to implement what I think is the most important piece of the pandemic protection plan, which is to get $4 million into the hands of your small businesses, and most importantly to me, those small businesses who employ folks all over Northampton County. If you look at your chart, you will see that there isn't a corner of our county that's not being impacted by this first $4 million. And you know, we have a little corner of the world here. We're one of 67. I think there are 3,084 counties or something like that in the country. But in our own little corner of the world, this $4 million that you're about to put out on the street is going to make a big difference in other people's lives. And also as part of the pandemic protection plan, you have the Grow Norco money, where you're going to be assisting municipalities and nonprofits with their COVID-19 related expenses. That's more money that you're getting out into the street. And you're also considering tonight, and while it wasn't part of our pandemic protection plan, we were thinking about it beforehand, you're going to be helping our EMS units out there. And who are the people who are risking their health and safety taking folks with COVID-19 to the hospital? It's our EMS folks. So not only are you going to be putting a lot of stimulus out on to the street tonight, you're going to be helping the very people, the first responders, who are helping us. And it's so exciting to me to know that this governing body, this Northampton County Council, which both Mr. Seyfried and I and Mr. Dertinger all honorably sat on and are proud to be alumni of, we all are very much, that you're going to be doing this tonight. You're implementing this big portion of the pandemic protection plan, and we thank you. But you know, Council, we just had a storm, which was a very fast storm, but it was a very damaging storm. And I believe we are fortunate in Northampton County that no one lost their life in Northampton County, although there were very dangerous situation, and I wanted to share with you, because, we're so caught up in our COVID battle, right? That we're forgetting that we have other responsibilities, and our emergency management and 911 fielded, let me see if I can get this, I want to get this as accurately for you as I can. During the hurricane, they took 2,000, this is 911 in our emergency management, they took 2,844 calls in a 24-hour period. 2,844 in a 24-hour period. 778 were 911 calls, and 2,066 were non-emergency calls. It's remarkable. The typical, last Tuesday, for example, the average in July was 1,283 calls. So you can see, it more than doubled just in that one day. So emergency management right now is working with our municipalities and homeowners to determine whether we're going to meet the threshold for federal disaster relief. I'm thinking, just looking around, it's a little above $1 million. I think we'll probably be in excess of that and probably be in line for that kind of disaster relief. But I wanted you to know that your emergency management folks right now are working on that as we speak. So while we're here talking about getting all this money out to small businesses, our emergency management folks are trying to help folks recover from that hurricane and the flooding that just occurred. We have some early preliminary results from our testing collaboration with Coordinated Health and Lehigh Valley. We have tested approximately 125 people. Now, that's not a huge number, right? Which is a good sign. There aren't a lot of people showing up at this site with symptoms, right? 125 people have been tested. Only 2.6% of those people are positive. That's really good news. Now, I want to see some bigger numbers before we conclude that real progress has been made, because if you remember, at our Easton site, we were almost 6%. So, and when we finished there, we tested about 1,666 people. So we'll see as time goes on, but I'm glad we've established this site. With schools opening up, it's going to be very important that we have this site so that we can keep a lid on COVID-19 in Northampton County, because that's what we're responsible for. We can't solve the state's problems, we can't solve the nation's problems, but here in our little corner of the world, we are being very aggressive about COVID-19. And I got to tell you, the progress you heard about at Graysdale, no positives, it's amazing. It's a remarkable thing that the employees of Graysdale have done, both the administration and the nurses and the LPNs and the CNAs and the housekeepers, to have no positive cases right now, either a resident or a staff member. It's remarkable. And I believe, as I do about the larger society, specifically speaking about our county, that it's mask wearing. I know Mr. Heckman's concerned about seeing folks who don't have masks on, but his observation and my observation is most people are doing a really good job. And I think it's universal masking that has led to there being no coronavirus cases currently at Graysdale and no coronavirus cases currently at the prison. 0. Are we out of the woods? No, we are not. Should we drop our guard? No, we should not. We should do more testing, and we're going to. And we should emphasize mask wearing. As a matter of fact, Jennifer Stewart King was here tonight talking with you. She and I have discussed a plan where we're going to even do more masking at Graysdale. We want to be able to have just about everyone masked at all times. We are not out of the woods yet. We are not celebrating. We are not spiking the ball. But what we are saying is we think we're making progress with masking and testing, and we're going to keep doing it because we have the funds to do it. And this is how we're going to choose to go forward in this county. That concludes my report.
You have a question?
I have one question about the rules of masking in this courthouse, because I know what they were when we started. But we've invited people to
Right.
lower them there. Is there a problem with that? Is there a problem if we lower them while we're up here to speak?
I
Because I think we're all sitting here like this, we put this up, or.
think we're 6 feet apart, so no, I don't think it's a problem.
I mean, I guess the other question is, when people are working at their desks, not moving around in.
They don't have their masks on.
And that's, okay.
Yes, it's fine.
Just questioning what the
Yep.
rules were. Thank you.
Yep, and
We had a
to your,
guy up there screaming like the bagel guy that was on the videos a few months back. Yeah, I'd say maybe you want to put it on, but people have been pretty respectful. Like,
and to your point about that, and look, again, we're not celebrating. We are still in danger. This is still very dangerous. But to our knowledge, no one in this courthouse has coronavirus. To our knowledge, no one at the DHS building has coronavirus. So we're very fortunate in that way, and we believe our temperature screening, you have to be screened every time you walk in here, and the universal masking is working, and one of the things we have to keep doing is encouraging people to keep doing it, because everybody's getting tired. Everybody's so sick and tired of this. And then there's so much misinformation out there as well. The whole thing has become so politicized that, you know, you have to show your allegiance based on whether you're wearing a mask or not. And as you know, I have refrained from engaging in that debate as much as I possibly can, because it's not helpful, because we need everybody to be on board with getting their temperature screened and wearing their masks and things of that nature.
yeah, and the people I see, I don't even think they're aggressive non-mask wearers. I define it, it's like if I drive near a restaurant, it's people just, they forget, you know, and you're talking, and then you decide to walk over and talk to the waitress, and it's like you said, just it's tough. As we've gone on, you get tired, you take I catch myself doing that, but we have to keep our guard up.
Not covering the nose thing is a problem. You got to cover your nose.
Yeah, Ms. Ferraro did ask me, and she wanted to be recognized. So.
For the employees that were vacationing or away at a hot spot somewhere, are they quarantining when they come back?
Yeah,
Are you getting any kickback from that?
So, well, they don't like it, but we cannot have folks who are away in a place that the governor has designated to be a hotspot come back into our facilities. That's how we're coronavirus free. They're sitting at home.
Is there a list anywhere in the courthouse of those places?
We can provide that to you, yes.
Okay.
It's actually in the policy,
Oh, okay.
and
Thank
I don't know if you've been, what? Yeah, it's in the policy. We'll provide that to you.
Thank you.
If you make a quick trip back to Florida, it's 2 weeks.
No, I'm not going to Florida.
Mr. If you're finished?
Policy doesn't apply to members'
Yeah,
county
thank you.
council.
Mr. McKee.
And I don't know if you have an update or not, and this is switching gears a little bit, but I see Mike Amelia in the back there, and I was just wondering, do you have an update on the screw generator in the river
Yeah.
project?
Archimedes screw, yes.
What happened to the screw?
The Archimedes.
Just a quick update.
COVID has put it on hold.
Okay,
Yep.
okay,
COVID's put it on hold. It's still moving forward though,
it is.
but it's on hold.
Yeah.
Your question did remind me of another thing though.
Okay,
And I want you and Mr. Myers to know this. We asked Mr. Ramirez to be here tonight, and we actually asked him to come to the Human Services Committee meeting. He's not showed. I was hoping he was going to be here now so I could give him some of my time, and he is not here. Ms. Wondolowski is on vacation. She will be addressing that with him next week. But I want you to know we asked him to be here.
can I ask another question on that one?
Sure.
How long's he been with the county?
Long time in many
Okay.
different departments. He's been in the sheriff's department. He's been in the prison. Long time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Mr. Lawton, then Ms.
Yes, because Mike's here, I'm going to ask you this question. I was at an event, a function a couple days ago, and there was a statement made that we have gotten a larger percentage of the transportation money than Lehigh County has gotten. And I thought, and it was made by somebody that really should know, and I was a little confused because I was under the impression we did not get as the percentage that Lehigh County got out of the transportation.
Can I give Mike some of my time? Sure. Okay. You want to come up? Now, I know Mike is working on so there's a capital committee coming up. He's working on a full presentation for this, but I think he can tell you off the top of his head.
If that's the case, I can wait.
He can tell you what he knows tonight.
Okay.
Mike, if you would.
Sure. So in terms of that distribution of funding between Northampton and Lehigh. I'm not quite sure what the exact split would be in 2020. I am still, crunching the numbers and trying to make a, better assessment of that. And I do plan to give a full report at the next capital projects meeting. I believe it's on the 19th.
Okay.
All right. Now, Mr. Myers.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
First of all, I want to compliment you. That's an excellent mask you're wearing.
Thank you.
I have to tell you that. Die-hard Eagles man. My question is for Mr. Dertinger.
Okay.
Mr. Dertinger, is there a possible update on Forensic Center?
Yeah, that's good job.
Yeah, go ahead. Give me
We are moving along. We have our walls, we have both the electrical and the plumbing is inspected all the way through the actual building itself, not the receiving area and decomposition area or the garage. The walls are up on the exterior. We have some areas that are still necessary to close in on the mezzanine and on the end walls, so that it's 100% closed in. The carpenters have all the walls in the facility itself are up. They are sheetrocked. They've started the taping. At this point, we are looking toward the sprinklers, the fire suppression system going in, and we are starting to move towards the communications and low voltage systems in the building. The HVAC system is ongoing. There's a ton of ductwork to go in there, and they wouldn't bring, and thankfully, they didn't bring any of that material to site until the walls were closed up so that things wouldn't get wet or damaged while we were waiting for the building to be closed up. We will be moving towards the solar panels in about 3 or 4 weeks. We've had a lot of detailing with the wall system. The wall system on this project basically has a 4 to 5 inch insulated panel all the way around the building. So the entire building envelope is insulated, not just the walls inside as well, like you would consider a normal construction or a regular home. So that's moving along very rapidly. The site work itself is coming to a little bit more of an end. Everything is as it will be, with the exception of the detention pond, which I never get tired of talking about, our 8-foot deep detention pond that even with the hurricane only saw 3 feet of water. So it's a little disappointing. I was really hoping to be able to go swimming there for what that costs, but we will be moving forward in the near future to removing about 5 feet of that detention pond, because we will no longer need a temporary detention pond there.
Okay. So I'm just going to ask this just to ask it, but you're going to be on time, aren't you, sir?
Yeah.
Come hell or high water.
Well, obviously, the water's not that high over there, but we're definitely, it might be help for some other people.
Okay. Just one other thing, because it was brought out to our attention tonight. Could you please at some point give us an update on why this young lady here addressed the issue at Bridge 41 whenever you feel the need to give us what the conversation's about?
Certainly.
Okay. Maybe at my meeting I have scheduled?
I would say Mr. Dertinger's powerful, but I don't know if come hell he's able to take care
No, I
of
can make
it.
people feel like it, though.
What is the ETA on the Forensic Center? I mean, I forget.
Mid-October.
Mid-October. All right, are there any other questions for our administrators, executive? Seeing none, we're going to move on then with the agenda.
There is one.
Mr. Myers?
Thank you, Mr. McClure. I see we got vouchers for the school. Are those same ones going to be generated for veterans?
Yes. That is correct.
Okay.
Similar.
Similar,
Similar.
yeah, okay. And at that point, that gentleman who decided not to show up sometime is going to show up in front of us so he can answer some questions for us?
Yes, he is.
I like your style.
You know what?
Can I ask a
related
question?
question on the voucher, and maybe, I don't know if there's an answer. Lamont may have it, Tina, so don't worry. I saw the voucher, it looks great, and in fact, we had that question answered at our committee when I was asking about the money. But are the schools going to have a procedure to decide which kids would get them? Because I doubt if they're all going to get enough vouchers for their entire student body. I mean, are they going to literally like say, do you have or do you not have access? I was just curious, like, because it's great. I'm glad you gave the vouchers, because my fear was we give the money to the schools and it ends up in tires for buses. So, I mean, so the vouchers are a great idea. I just wondered, do we know how they're going to hand them out?
Yes, so they're going, it's a financial base system. And so the student population in the districts that would qualify for a free lunch program
Sort of using
would be
that.
their
All right.
target market, yes.
Thank you. That answered my question.
I was going to answer that for you.
All right.
One, quick. So
Ms. Vargo Hefner.
I missed the end of what you were saying, but where do we want Mr. Ramirez to come? The next Human Services, or do you want to wait a whole month, or you want him before that?
We're going to.
Would you like him at the-
Irrespective of his availability, we'll have a better answer for you on what the voucher's going to look like. We will have a voucher for you at the next meeting.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Are we finished now? We are finished, Mr. Clerk. All right. Now, we will move on to old business. First item under old business, public hearing on the ordinance entitled an ordinance providing for an amendment to the Northampton County Home Rule Charter, amending section 203 entitled composition as follows. The county council shall be composed of 9 commissioners, 5 commissioners elected at large, and 4 commissioners elected by district. This was introduced by Ms. Vargo Hefner and Ms. Ferraro at the July 16th, 2020 meeting. And now I will ask if there are any questions or comments from the public on this issue. Seeing none, I will open this up to council discussion. And I believe, Ms. Vargo Hefner, since you and Ms. Ferraro started this, I'm going to kick this over to you now, and then if people want to join in, I'll recognize you if you want.
I think I just,
Something you'd like to say?
well, I think I said it before, but I just wanted to reiterate why I did this, and I guess to correct any misperceptions, or also, I think there was 1 or 2 questions that people had that I asked and researched. The first question that I got was if we would choose to do this, and if the voters would choose to enact this, will we need to rewrite an ordinance to have this change throughout the charter? And my response from Mr. Spadoni was no, that it would populate through and that it would just be done as it is. The second is to reiterate what I said last time, and it's completely misperceived, that this is looking for any kind of tax raising, fundraising, fee raising, or pay raising in any way. It is a simple name change of our people that fill these seats and not the council itself. So I wasn't asking for it to be a board of commissioners. It would still remain county council. We would change the name to commissioners. Again, we wouldn't, because the voters will, because that's my point, is to give it to the voters and let them make the decision. And with all due respect to Mr. Seyfried and his history, if voters still have that bad perception, then they'll vote against it. And if they don't mind, they don't. But I don't see, we discussed, I had Aileen research, I had Linda look. We're not looking to change nameplates. We're not going to swap out business cards next week. It's a clarification, in my opinion, and I hope you'll all continue to support it.
Any further discussion on this? Mr. Lott?
Both my concerns were, does this change the government? And, you clarified it doesn't change the government. It's simply a name change, which quite frankly, doesn't matter to me so much if we're a council person or a commissioner. I've been called a lot worse than both those names. So that really doesn't matter to me. The other thing I asked about last time was cost, and I'm just not seeing, other than the actual putting on a ballot, that there'd be any cost to the taxpayers. So to me, we do get a lot of stuff sent to us with commissioners. Our neighbors are commissioners. CCAP refers to people as commissioners. What I guess my question would be is there a definition, and pardon me for my ignorance, but is there actually physically definition difference between commissioner and council person? I know that might be a long answer, but I mean, to me, it's a name change. Thank you.
Well, I don't even know if it's really, I don't think, when the Home Rule Charter study did it, and they recommended council to make that distinction, as Mr. Safer said in his letter. But as far as like, if you look at Lehigh County, and I guess there's another one, they basically do, I know they have they have difference with their offices a little bit, and they have a difference with terms of, like, they're involved more with personnel than we are. But essentially, they're the same thing we are, I think, for the most part. But I mean, I guess the question would be, do you think it's appropriate to do or not? As far as, does it change your abilities? No, this is your Bible. You know, I always harp on people. Read this, read it again, then read it a third time. I don't think it would have any impact on what your powers are. All right, Mr. Spadoni, do you want to comment on that?
I agree.
That's awesome.
Do I get to charge $850 for that? That's an old GPA joke.
Yeah.
All right, next person. That was, I think, it's Bill, and then I'll come over to you.
I plan on supporting this ordinance. I also want to comment on the appreciation I have for Mr. Seifried back there and what he did for the county. And I saw there was a piece of history in there, and the history is going to remain. I mean, they're not going to change any of the past minutes, or that's all going to be there. But we do get addressed a lot as commissioners, and I heard it from one of the other council persons, which commissioner is kind of nice because it's not, it's a person, or, council man, council woman, council person, commissioner.
Gender neutral.
But I thought about that a little bit too, but I know when people from other areas ask, well, what is council? And we have to give them a little bit of a history lesson, and we have to tell them, why we're really commissioners, but they call it county council. So anyway, I just want to make sure a vote for this is no, I don't want to disrespect Mr. Seifried. I know he did a lot for this county. I have a lot of respect for him for the time I've known him. I've been finding out more and more of what he did as I go on in my 3 years here. So that's all.
I believe you had something you want to say, Mr. Rinsky.
Yeah, I was just commenting on the distinction between council and commissioner.
Oh, was
So there's no real, my point is, there's no real distinction between council person and commissioner, either in the capacity of your job description or pay, right? So when we go to CCAP, I noticed that the commissioners there's usually 3 commissioners, right? And we're governed by our home rule charter. So even if we would adopt the terminology commissioner, that doesn't violate how we sit as 9 representatives, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I appreciate what Mr. Siegfried discussed, and I know everybody acknowledges his contribution to the county and the nostalgia he holds for this terminology. I think that there is something to say for the gender-neutral term in calling us commissioners, and the alignment in the state with all the other terminology, because I know I get a lot of confusion when people talk to me about whether or not I'm from Northampton as a supervisor, a council supervisor, or something like that. And so I think that this is a good resolution, and ultimately the voters will decide.
Mr. Kusick.
Yeah, so I didn't have a chance to vote on this in 1977. I wasn't eligible yet, but I do appreciate the history.
That was tough.
I do appreciate the history lesson, and my understanding is that They so wanted to break with the commissioner form that there was a demand to change the name. And now, back to where we are now. We're not changing the form of government here. Mr. Seyfried did raise the issue of a home rule study, and Mrs. Ferraro can attest, that has been raised numerous times, and we have never gotten 5 or 6 members here to agree to put that on the ballot. So I ask myself, when I look at these charter referendums, what do I feel about it, and is this something that the voters should address? I look at it as we have borough council members, we have city council members. But we don't have a county mayor. So I think it might make sense for us to move towards commissioner to distinguish ourselves from borough and city council. And I think it's worth having, is this something that the voters should weigh in on? Sure, because a lot of us didn't have that opportunity in 1977. So I'll be supporting this, and I think it's something that the voters should decide what they call us. Hopefully, it'll be either commissioner or council and not something else.
No, they're writing all
Although we have been called other things.
Do I have anyone? Mr. Myers, you go right ahead.
Why, thank you. In 1977, Mr. Cusack, I was serving the Navy, smartass.
Thank you for your service.
There's a Navy man back there, too.
Wow. I don't have an opinion one way or another on this. I really don't, because I was elected to do a job, and the job's not changing. And times are changing. Everything is changing around us, and maybe we need to just jump on the change train. I respect the hell out of what Jerry had to say, because I'm one who believes in history and respecting history, and I can understand why they chose what they chose at that time. But I think it's time that we move on a little bit and become more distinguished in what our job is supposed to be. Because, yeah, there is confusion out there. I don't know how many times I've been called, a city councilman when I've gone to speak to somebody. I'm like, damn. But that's okay. I respect what we have to do, and I think from this point on, I will vote for it, but I'm going to respect the history, and I respect the fact that Jerry came up and spoke to us about it, because I wasn't around for this.
Is anybody else? I wasn't around here. I was around the county. I was working in a different department. Actually, I was working here when we still had commissioners, because I was the guy who, as you probably can tell by how I act now, some guy came in and he was asking us about stuff, and I went to my boss and I said, "Who the hell is that?" And they said, "That's Marty Bechtel, one of the commissioners." And I was like, "Oh, was that supposed to be an important thing?" So anyway, but no, Jerry, and full disclosure, Jerry and I had a long conversation about this. I talked to him, and just like I said, I discussed things, get touch and base with him on this. It's interesting what I've heard Tara say and what Carrie said, and Jerry and I had this discussion. I think of the Bob Dylan song, "The Times They Are Changing." And frankly, most of anything I've accomplished, if you want to call it that, whether my ordinances or resolutions, will go down in history as Ron Heckman, County Councilman. And I have absolutely no feelings of inadequacy being a county councilman. I was proud of the fact that the voters put me in office, proud of the fact that I served as county councilman. And if I wasn't, I wouldn't have gone through the running for council again. And as anybody here who's ever run for office knows, as I tell people when they said, "Well, maybe I should run," I said, "Be my guest, go for it. County's a big place." And so the thing is, I would just say this to council, regardless of what the name is, I've had some feedback about power of council going forward, what council can accomplish, what it can't accomplish. Whatever we call ourselves, ultimately how you are respected by anyone, the public, the executive branch, the judicial branch, is really how it comes down to how you respect yourselves. How you respect not just yourself, but yourself as an institution, and how you're willing to stand up for the very institution you're a part of. whether you're a commissioner or a councilman, you are the governing body of the county. And if you read this, you have tremendous authority and responsibility to do things. Now, I know I get in trouble sometimes because I ask certain questions, but I figure that's part of my responsibility. And I'll take the hit, and if I make a mistake, I'll own up to it. But the thing is, Jerry did point to something, and something that I was opposed to early on, which I'm not opposed to anymore, and that is, whatever the vote total on this is, I do believe the time has come for a charter review commission. I would agree with that. And I think that that is something we're pushing 50, we're going to be pushing 50 years on the charter. And Jerry knows there have been, over the years, there's been a lot of changes. Some things were put in here. There's a lot of things that were put in because it was convenient at the time, or it mollified a certain individual or group. And it changed over time as the attorneys looked at it, council members looked at it. So in doing this, I just want to point out, if you do it, it's not going to change anything. Ultimately, somebody isn't going to come up and respect you more because they say Commissioner Heckman as opposed to Councilman Heckman. That you're going to have to earn, and you're going to have to fight for it. But the other thing is, I do think the time has come. I've come around on this, that I think it wouldn't hurt to have a charter review commission put together somewhere in the near future. And I talked to Jerry about some preliminary ways on how you get started with something like that. So maybe that will be a discussion we have sometime in the near future. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that in for what it's worth. And since you didn't pay for it, it's not worth much. I will say one thing about being called names and that. I was referred to as the big fish that Jerry had caught when he went on one of his latest fishing trips. So you can't be called worse than Councilman Ron Heckman. That's a big, what fish was that? A sucker. Well, I figured. Appropriate. A halibut. Well, yeah. Well, so there you go. Anyway, that's enough from me. Peg, did you want to say something?
Whoops.
I was trying to get rid of Spadoni, but failed.
I'm going to take more of that.
Go ahead, Peg.
Are you with us, Mr. Spadoni?
Right here.
Okay, it's just my hope and my wish that when we bring the ordinance before this body, that we can have sponsors and we can really get into forming a study commission.
Oh.
That's my.
All right, are there any other discussions with this? Seeing none, well, I think it's time then to call for the vote. Ms. Zembo.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lott.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
All right, very well. Well, let's move on.
Thank you.
Public hearing on the ordinance entitled An Ordinance Amending the 2020 Northampton County Budget. Ms. Fargo Hefner and Ms. Zirinsky introduced this ordinance at the July 16th, 2020 meeting. Are there any questions or comments from the public on this ordinance? Seeing none, discussion from council. If somebody wants to jump in, Ms. Hefner or Ms. Zirinsky, to discuss this, feel free, or bring. We do have Mr. Barron. I was told that I'm being disrespectful when I refer to you as the Norco money man. So I have to refer to you as Mr. Barron from now on, I guess.
No, I just think we reviewed this.
Yeah.
Several times. I think we're,
All right.
no changes, right?
This is just perfunctory, and that's why we're doing it.
Perfunctory. Well, all right. I've got to ask. So, having been told it's just perfunctory, let's call for the vote.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lott.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. All right. Is there any other old business?
Yeah, she was just.
Any no old business? Let's move on to new business. Introduction of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance fogging up. An ordinance authorizing preparation and submission of a declaration of taking and related documentation for a portion of the lands of Erica L. Bush and for a portion of the lands owned by Arling J. Kiefer Jr. and PPAC Gladstone Bank, co-trustees of the Francis E. Kiefer Residuary Trust, and for a portion of the Department of Agriculture's conservation easement. Would someone please sponsor this ordinance? Don't always say something at once. Okay.
Can we get more information about it before we sponsor it?
Well,
No, I'll second it.
all right, Mr.
Well,
McGee
we'll
is.
have a discussion on it anyway, once it comes.
Right, yeah, I mean, and, that's the important thing. I mean, when we sponsor these and put them on the table, it doesn't mean they'll even get anywhere if you're not happy with it. So, all right, so Mr. McGee sponsored, and I believe Mr. Kusick was the second.
Right.
So we'll have a public hearing, debate, and possible vote will be held at the August 20th meeting. All right, number 2, consideration of a resolution approving the fiscal year 2020 emergency medical services grant projects for funding. Mr. Lott, would you please introduce this resolution?
This is a resolution approving the financial year 2020 Emergency Medical Service EMS Grant Project for funding. I'll skip the whereas. Now therefore it be resolved by Council of Northampton County that, number 1, that the attached fiscal year 2020 EMS grant project recommendation for funding are approved by Northampton County Council. Number 2, that the county executive of the County of Northampton is authorized to execute grants agreements with the applicants not to exceed the approved amount for each grant.
Thank you. All right, discussion.
Question.
Mr. Myers?
First of all, I think it's a wonderful idea that we're getting this money out to these folks that is desperately needed, because the last time they were telling us how hard times were. My question is to Mr. Cusack on this. Is Williams Township being covered by Easton? Who's covering theirs?
Our emergencies. The emergency squads merged several years back. So the Easton Emergency Squad does cover Williams Township now.
Okay, I was a little curious because I didn't see them on there. That's only, I think it's a grand idea. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? Seeing none, call for the vote.
Mr. Lott.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
All right, thank you. Next, we have the consideration of a resolution approving the fiscal year 2020 Grow Norco Grant Program via the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant. Mr. Lott?
Yes, and again, I'm going to skip the whereas. Now therefore, it be resolved by the Council of the County of Northampton that, number 1, that the recommended grants in Exhibit A are approved. 2, that the county executive of the County of Northampton is authorized to execute grant agreements with the applicants not to exceed the approved amount for each grant.
Good job. All right, is there any discussion? I will say there's been a great deal of effort put into doing this, and I think we all appreciate that. So if there's no other discussion, we'll call for the vote.
Mr. Lott.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
All right, consideration of a resolution approving the small business receiving funding via the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant.
Again, this was discussed in length, several meetings in that so I'm going to hit the, now therefore it be resolved by the Council of the County of Northampton, 1, that the grants in Exhibit A are approved. 2, that the county executive of the County of Northampton is authorized to execute the grant agreement with the applications not to exceed the approved amount for each grant.
Thank you. Discussion.
I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When these are finalized, will they be listed somewhere on a website so that people could have access to see where they are, not just in a press release, but that someone could actually hit on a link and see who got what, so that there's no questions or?
Tina, please. Sorry. It's okay.
And that would go for the two preceding as well?
Yeah, we always list our award recipients on the website, on the county site, and the
Thank-
DCD page.
And I think you should
Ferraro.
stress that it was a first come, first served. They actually were numbered as they came in.
Correct. They're all, when they upload their application to the chamber website, everything is dated and time-stamped.
And that's pretty much how we,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so,
As long as they checked all the boxes, yes.
all right. Now,
and may I also say?
Oh, go right ahead.
I think the chamber did a wonderful job with these worksheets that they gave us.
There's a lot of hours into
They
this.
put a lot of hours, and I think they did a great job
Agree.
yeah.
organizing.
Anybody else? Mr. Kusick?
Yeah, real quick, I'll thank the chamber, I'll thank the DCD and the committee that worked on this. First of all, I want to say, these are all, in my opinion, these are all life-sustaining businesses. To call people's work non-essential really is a disservice to them and the work that they do. I guess my question is, did we use all the money? And
Oh, yes.
It's done like that.
And we have a long list of, a wish list.
That leads into something maybe Mr. Barron can address, because we did have a little bit of a talk about the people that were left over. I don't know if you want to, Mr. Kusick, would you like to hear about that?
Sure.
Well, I don't know that he can address that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because it's really not his call. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. And it for a very serious reason. As Mrs. Farrar rightly pointed out, it was first come, first served, and we made that very clear, and it was in bold. And it's actually county council who will decide what money is left over to fund the additional businesses that didn't get funded in this first round. We're going to have the closure of the municipal grant applications tomorrow. And then we'll have a good idea, and we'll get that to you as soon as we can. We'll have a good idea about what can be funded out of that. Because, for example, I know an ambulance is going to be requested. We can fund that because people ride to the hospital with COVID in an ambulance. But there may be other requests that are made that we just won't be able to fund. Remember, that's a $10 million pool of money. So we're anticipating that there will be money left over so that we can then get into the second and third level, which is what I think you were getting at, but I don't want to prejudge that.
No, okay, and that's fine. I guess the question.
Because I don't want to shortchange the municipalities who need our help as much as the small businesses.
Before I recognize you, Lamont, let me just, were we talking about that the state, there may be a second round of money that we get as COVID, or did I misunderstand what you said to me, Steve?
You mean
We were
part of the
talking,
27
and I
million.
thought you said that there's might be a next, and it might mean this, and I just misunderstood. I thought you said we might be getting more money from,
Yeah, I know, I don't know that he knows that.
okay. No, I certainly don't.
No, I don't know that he knows that. I think we're in the
All right.
$27.6 million universe.
Okay.
We got a little confused because we do have some CDBG CARES money that is out there too. But the reason we want to spend this CARES money is this money has to be spent by December 31st.
Right.
Whereas our CDBG CARES money doesn't have to be spent by the end of the year. So this is why we're trying to get this out the door now.
So this is the first bucket of money that we have to give out.
Yeah. All of
So
this has to be done by the end of the year.
How much of this bucket have we gone through? 4 million, and how much, is there?
There's plenty left.
There's plenty left.
Yeah.
So will the businesses that didn't make this round, that applied, will they get priority?
Well, yeah, no, I don't think we would change the way we evaluated this. It would still be first come, first serve. So we would just move down I think, right, Mr. Lott? I mean, isn't that the way you?
That's how we had done it, I would think that.
And
would
there's
be-
another
Wait,
300 or
hold it,
so.
We got conversation, there's a lot of people that have, I guess, questions for you. And let me just first of all apologize to Mr. Barron. I may have completely misunderstood that. I hope you don't get in trouble over what I said, but that could all be my fault, not yours. Kevin.
He's good. He doesn't have to worry.
Mr. Lott, having chaired our little group, would like to address this issue. So I'm going to let him go, and then I guarantee anybody else who wants to ask or talk.
On the committee, we set guidelines, we set procedure, we set qualifications. I guess the right word is qualifications. If the people met those qualifications, they got the money. It was that simple. And one of the qualifications, when we made it, we put it out there, and the chamber did an excellent job marketing this, because you can see about the returns we got. I mean, everybody was on this thing, and they came quick and they came early. But we give that money out first come, first served. That's how we market it. That's how we're going to do it. I would think, and I would hope, there was many people that did not get in that $4 million or $3,900,000 cut that we had. There's many businesses that probably have more need or just as much need as ones that are getting money. So I would think we have tracked that all. We have everybody that's applied. We only gave out, I want to say, and don't quote me on the number, 396. We're going to start with 300. I believe we should start with 397, 300, and stay with the same formula that we had. We said first come, first serve. We have plenty of people that need the money. We're not, in fact, we kind of said to the chamber, easy on the marketing now, you did a great job, but we don't want to lead people at this point. There's probably not going to be enough money to cover every small business out there. Hopefully we get some more money and we can cover some more, because it's heartache. When you see some of these people, and you guys, everybody on council here have talked to business owners, it's desperate out there. So when we hit that cutoff part, your stomach sinks, because you see 5 more pages, or I don't even know, 10, 15 pages. Yeah, 15 pages that aren't covered. So that's heartache. But I would hope and think we would continue the procedure if we do have some money. So I kind of, and I truly believe it's as fair as a system as we can set up in such a short time frame. I mean, without starting to dig in how many employees, it can get endless. And then we will not accomplish what we want to do, is get money out on the street for these businesses as quick as possible to try to save some of these. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
And also, though, just so you know, as far as oversight, because I know I made a big deal about that, I don't regret that, but we were double checking, because I told Mr. Cusick, if we noticed they were from out of county, yank. If they didn't have the information on the tax number, or it was like, hey, I'm Joe, I have a business, this is my home address, yank. And until, if they don't get the information. So we were doing that as we went down. I mean, we went down the line, but we were looking at that. I'm going to recognize Ms. Hefner because she was waving her hand at me early on.
My question goes back to what you just stated about the municipal grants. Yes. And who will be making those decisions? Because, again, is there a committee? Is it?
No, we're going to get them, and if you saw the application. I believe I forwarded that as early as June 30th. So you'll get them, we'll evaluate them, and we'll make.
Being your.
Yeah, the administration, and we'll make the recommendations, and we'll tell you about the ones that we're not recommending. And the difficulty with the municipal grants is going to be, there has to be a nexus between COVID-19 and the money for the municipalities. So we have, one of the things about the CARES Act money that came down is that we had more flexibility with the small business grant program than we do with the municipal program.
Right, and that's why I'm just kind of asking the question now, and then as you evolve through the process, if you could share some of that with us, because those are the ones that we will definitely get questions on back in our
Well, yeah,
home districts, et cetera. And so I would like to have,
oh, you know, you'll have,
like, it was good to be able to have the information we did up front, so that if any business comes to us, we have the answer. And
this is a incredibly transparent administration. And Mr. Seyfried has a long memory. It might be the most transparent administration that's ever governed here. So I mean.
I understand that, and you do,
I understand your problem, but you'll get all of the information you need to be able to be as transparent with your constituents who may have questions about why they didn't get the funding they got. But I think everybody, except the, who was it, Suburban, who had 2 requests, everybody who's made funding requests thus far under the rules that you laid out, under the processes that you established, got funding. So I understand your point, but I don't think it's a terribly important concern.
I'm going to swing over here, and I'm going to go to Mr. McGee and then just roll right along.
Did I hear tonight that some of this money might not be a grant and might end up being a loan?
No, that's all a grant.
This is all grant?
Yep.
That was the other
They
one.
were talking about the PPP loan.
Okay, all right, good enough.
That's it. Mr. Myers, had you had a question? Then it was Ms. Zirinsky.
Great. So I do think that the chamber and the smaller commission did a great job in getting this money out as efficiently as they possibly could. I'm very happy about that because I was very concerned about businesses. My other question, though, is that, is this money going to sustain these businesses, or are there businesses on this list that will still close? Do we know that?
We don't, but I think I'll let Mr. Lott speak to, we don't know that.
And
But
that
I
doesn't
think some of them will
necessarily-
be gone. I don't know that, part of the reason we're trying to do this is help these businesses survive and then thrive. I don't know that they'll all survive, but we're giving them a shot, at
But
least
if
in the
they-
short term.
Sure. So if they were closed, were they still allowed to get the money to pay, like, back employee fees or employee wages?
They're all
things like
going
that?
concerns now, and I don't
Okay.
think we said, are you gonna be a going concern tomorrow?
Okay, I was just not concerned that
No,
they
it's a-
shouldn't
it's
get
a-
the
it's
money.
a great
But
question.
that I just wanted to know if this was a sustainable amount of money for the businesses moving forward, because I noticed that many of them had gotten a lot of the $15,000, and before we had discussed about the PPP and the EUL money.
Yeah, no,
ILU.
it's a great question, and I did, when I initially contacted the chamber about this, and I asked about the numbers. What's a good number for these small businesses to help them try and survive?
Mm-hmm.
And they thought $15,000 was a great number, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was sort of surprised.
Yeah,
They thought that was a good number that would help these smaller businesses survive for a while.
maybe to help spread it out.
And they're the experts on this stuff, not us.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, any other discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr.
Just one thing with the PPP loans, we did talk about that, but there was no way for the committee to know if it's going to turn into a loan or if it's going to be a grant. So there was no way we could do that. So we talked about, reducing back by that, but we may not get that information for quite some time, and so we couldn't do that. The other thing in the committee, a couple of us talked about was maybe lowering that, but the administration said, no, 15, if you're gonna save businesses, I think, Mr. Barron, 15 is the number. And maybe that isn't, my thought was that 10 gets you a little bit more, but I understand, and to your answer, yes, some people are gonna go out of business on this list. It's a shame, but that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Well,
Only because I
one of the
noticed
concerns I heard initially was that how are we going to be able to spend all this money?
Oh, yeah, like that.
I never had that.
Do we have that concern now?
Never had that.
I don't think we have this concern, and I do think, to Ms. Vargo Hefner's point, I do think we're going to have a hard time making the nexus in a lot of these municipalities between COVID and the asks they're making. So I do believe, and I don't want to set any unreasonable expectations, but I do believe we will get to more of those names on the small business list. I believe there'll be money
Yeah.
for it.
And I just want to make another point, too, on this municipal money. in Hanover Township, they just closed the community center.
Right.
And, I mean, there's a huge disruption in the community in closing a community center. You know, the pool's not there anymore, and now this place where, you know, my son worked there, but they had the gym there, they have the outdoor parks there, they have the, you know, the place where you can go and have your, what is it, the half-day parks program for kids. All that's gone now, and the notice that we got was it's indefinite. So municipalities are definitely very much hurting, and they need this money too. And I just felt like, because I am from Hanover, that I wanted to make that known, that we need to get on this municipal money like pronto.
Right. And tonight you did help a great number of municipalities throughout the county. You already are doing that.
Was there anything, Mr.
Just-
Myers?
Just to follow up on Ms. Zirinsky's comment,
Yeah.
there's a lot of municipalities out there hurting. There's a lot of programs that are shut down.
Sure.
And just not to single out Hanover or anywhere else, whether it be Williams Township, Easton, Forks, I might as well be a plug for mine, but they're all over, from North Catasauqua to Rosetta.
Yes.
We need to get the money to them as soon as possible, and that's all I really need to say about that.
Is it inappropriate for me to say that with some of these townships, they pride themselves on going for years and years without tax increases? And they run themselves bare and brag about it, and now they might be in trouble? I don't know. Is that an inappropriate statement?
I don't know, we're not going to raise taxes.
I had a question. Just
Go
a
ahead.
reminder, we did take an initial sum of money off the top to designate to Slate Belt directly, correct?
We did.
So that may not be reflected as well in these because they already have their own funding source, correct? Or some of those businesses have their own,
No.
so they were also invited to be part of this pool of money, correct?
Yes. Who's in?
Slate Belt businesses, Slate Belt.
Oh, yeah, and as a matter of fact, the chamber folks actually, they use shoe leather in the Slate Belt going door to door.
Wow.
And I think Mr. Giovanni and I were talking about it, I think he looked at his list, because those are his folks, and were there a number of Slate Belt businesses on there?
Very much so.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that was good.
We made it a point of emphasis.
But there's still-
Because I was very disappointed
there's
about the
a
whole rising tide thing.
But there's still oh no, that's not happening then.
No, we can't do a loan program because we can't get the money spent by December 31st.
So what are we doing with that money?
You already redistributed it.
We'd already
You
did
used
it.
it for vouchers for the schools and.
Oh, okay, that's what so we
You gave
reallocated it for that.
Arts
for these
Quest, the
vouchers,
airport.
yeah. Okay, so that was last, I got it.
Okay, so everybody needs money, and we can't send them a boat, but maybe we can send a few life preservers. Thank you, Mr. McClure. No other discussion or questions. Let's call for the vote.
Mr. Lott,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes,
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
thank you. All right, is there any other new business to discuss? Anybody have anything they want to discuss, new, semi-new? Seeing none? Council committee reports. Are there any council committee reports? Ms. Vargo Hefner.
We just held the Human Services meeting prior to this meeting. We discussed the long-term therapeutic, it's LTRSR, which is the project that's being used, money that we got 2 years ago to deal with mentally ill incarcerants and how to get them unincarcerated and more into mental health. And so they gave a nice report. The process is moving forward, and I'm hoping, early 21, I believe, they hope to be open.
They're breaking ground this summer.
So we'll see what happens. They also gave us an update on Magellan, on the SAPs in the district, hoping that the SAP programs will be occurring again this year. And they also brought up the CIT training for police officers. And in our next meeting in September, I had already planned that they will come, because Ms. Wondolowski couldn't be here, that they will be reviewing for us the grants and how they plan to disseminate the money that they receive for the mental health funding in September.
Any other committee reports?
Just that there will be a Courts and Corrections on the 17th? Linda?
What time?
September, right? Okay, 17th September. We will follow everybody else that day because there's several, it's the third Thursday.
All right. Any other committee reports?
We had an Economic Development Committee prior to this meeting. We went over all the resolutions we just voted on. We also had a presentation by Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corp.
Thank you. Any others? Seeing none, liaison, Ms. Zirinsky.
I attended the Farmland Preservation Board meeting the other night, and I'm happy to report that we have 207 farms now preserved, and that's 17,011 acres, and they are still going very strong. So I can remember the last time that the 200th farm, the Chavone property, was preserved. And we have just been going steadily through the list, and I think that we have to give a lot of kudos to Ryan Shaw and also, of course, Maria Bensoni for continuing to work on these projects and making sure that they continue to preserve farmland.
Just FYI, not to make it a love fest, but the author back there of Parks 2000 and my little resolution on farmland that went with it, but he was instrumental in land preservation. Peg remembers, and also I don't think Wayne Group Park would exist today if we had. You bought the land, didn't you? I thought you did. Okay, I'll stop doing that. I don't want to get accused of kissing Jerry's posterior. Any other liaison reports? Yes, go ahead.
But Mr. Myers, go
Go.
ahead.
Go.
GPA met this Tuesday morning, bright and early, in no sunshine and a torrential downpour, and we have bridge project. 8 bridges are now currently in maintenance. 8 are open to traffic, and 2 were under construction within maybe minutes of being able to be open to traffic, correct? There were 2 that were really close. One. So that 9 are open to traffic, and 1 is still under construction, leaving 8 bridges in the design phase. So we're moving along the track. And I think our payments are pretty well in line, and I believe we voted to get payments up to date as of May 2020, correct? Once they finish it, so we're on time and task with that. So that's the best news I can give you in as many years as I can. And we also heard from the woman who was here tonight. And I forget what happened with Glendon.
The Glendon Bridge?
No, the Glendon
Glendon
Hotel.
It's
Oh.
coming down.
I was like,
It is, I forget what's
And they're
happening.
putting
been
houses in
coming
there.
down.
We approved
forever.
some money, but it's not as far along as the bridges. No, I believe we heard from her. It's a GPA issue, but what I stated at the meeting, and I'll state here, is that she was asking us why these bridges were selected. And I made it really clear that the people that were on the dais at that time and on that day, not one of us was responsible for that choice or that selection. And so that we can't answer why, we can just move forward with the project. So, you know, I don't know what else to say. We can't go back and say, why did you pick this bridge? Because none of us knew. And it's honestly a nice board to work with. It's a good group of people that just want to move forward and get it done.
I understand that the bridge in Tatamy, the business at that bridge suffered a great deal of damage to their parking lot. And I'm hoping the county or someone will help them restore their parking lot for their business now that they've been put out of business for so long because of that bridge and the issues that around it. So now the bridge is fixed, but it would be nice to see them get a little help for that parking lot.
what business is that?
The grist mill?
The grist mill.
The grist mill.
Because, hold on,
Hey, the boss knows.
I don't know if they want to address it. would you want to, is there something you want to say?
answer. There's an answer.
Oh, Mrs. Ferraro, you're going to get an answer, apparently.
Yeah, certainly during the period that the construction was there, I'm sorry. I've gotten really used to wearing it. There has, during the period that the bridge was being worked on, they actually did a number of things for her. They did fix the parking lot, and at the very last, they were waiting for a waiver from her to sign a waiver, and they were going to give her the remaining monies that she was requesting to deal with that problem.
I haven't shopped there lately.
All right. Now, I think we're still, Mr. Kusick.
Just one follow-up with that. I know the woman was here earlier to address Little Creek Road, and I have two suggestions if you're looking to swap. Bridge 31, we had a lengthy meeting, I think it was almost 2 hours about that one bridge at one point with the Lower Mount Bethel supervisors a couple of years ago. So if you're looking to swap one, I would encourage you to look at that one. And also the Meadows Road Bridge has been in and out and in and out. It's obvious that the state representatives that we have are more than willing to pass proclamations about it being historic, but they're unwilling to send us funding to fix it. So I think that if you're looking to do some sort of swap, I think 10 years that the TIP has given us, that's unacceptable. I think we ought to look at seeing if putting it back into the program P3 might be worth looking into. Thanks.
Kusick, though, that's part of the GPA group, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, wasn't that part of the contract that they sort of locked in the bridges? I don't know, would it be that easy to make that split?
Well, again, it's been in, it's been out. I think that's something that would have to be negotiated between the GPA and Krieger. But I think that seeing as how the Meadows Road Bridge is going nowhere, maybe we should have left it in the project, so.
All right.
I don't think that that's an option from my limited knowledge of GPA and what is going on. I don't know that swaps are an option at this time.
Okay.
That's just,
Yeah.
you know, again, maybe some other day, but not today.
All right.
And that darn bridge, I'm going to think of something to do with that bridge.
All right.
I just, and
I'm going to put up some confetti, I don't know.
for a liaison report, I just wanted to report that I was renominated to be your CCAP District 6 rep. And I also want to congratulate Lori Vargo Hefner, who completed the CCAP Excellence in Leadership Program.
I never got excellence in leadership. All right.
One other liaison.
Mr. Myers.
Just for information, Lanta has decided to go Zoom. So I will be attending their meetings via Zoom for the future.
All right. Glad to hear it. Oh, Mr. Giovanni.
Yeah, we had an IT meeting this week. The biggest thing on the project is, of course, shut down tomorrow with the two switches that they're replacing, one at Graysdale, one at the jail. So they'll have some downtime. They also ordered 6 med cards for Graysdale, which is happening. And Bob was amazed that their IT staff had a PC refresh. Last month, they did 35, and he's hoping to have that continued in that process. Other than that, we're going on as usual.
Thank you.
Yep.
Nothing else? I'm going to go to Council Clerk's report. Mr. Attorney Spadoni. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then we'll call for adjournment. A motion. Lot. We're out of here.
Second.
Yeah, I just want to ask you a quick question. I don't want to open up a can of worms with the Graysdale, the layoff. When she said about them getting 600, I didn't know what she was talking about.